hapon po sa inyong lahat and welcome to our first live show for the month of June. We're very excited dahil we are here to help all of you. Please give us a call because kasama po natin ang ating ever dependable and reliable immigration attorneys na si Aquino and Lowe.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino and Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
We are here with attorney Allison Aquino Silva and attorney Richard Lowe. Hello, welcome back to the show.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
All right, so we have a lot to cover. As we know, people are still wondering what is happening with this implementation. There are court cases going on. Allison, people need to know what is going on.
Exactly, with the implementation of expanded DACA and deferred action for parents, and it's quite frustrating. Just last week, the appellate court issued a court order which keeps in place the ability to move forward with the implementation of the expanded DACA and DAPA programs. So unfortunately, the immigration is still unable to move forward. They have decided not to file a further appeal of that particular court decision.
Right. So that is on hold temporarily?
It continues to be on hold temporarily. The next action in the litigation is that there is going to be another court hearing come July 10, where they're going to hear oral arguments again in order to see whether the immigration should be able to move forward or not. Maybe in about a month and a half, hopefully we should get a resolution on that. But then the other overall case is still ongoing. So in short, it's still on hold. People should continue to keep attuned to the news, because at some point in time there will be a resolution, but just not right now.
Okay, mga kababayan, tawagan niyo po kami sa 1-800-553-5724. Unfortunately, we cannot answer your phone calls from Hawaii at this time, but we're working on that. And remember, you can always email us questions at kababyan@la18.tv. But we are here for you. Kasama natin ang ating mga immigration attorneys. If you have any questions for them, we are here to answer your questions live. All right, so Attorney Richard, I wanted to ask you, because I know that the U.S. Supreme Court, there was a case issued about controlled substances and the categories. What are these categories?
Yes, well, as you know, the Supreme Court is ending its term, so we're going to get a lot of decisions in the next few days. And one of the decisions that came out yesterday was that the Supreme Court was basically saying that possession of a paraphernalia is not necessarily a controlled substance violation, depending upon the state statute. So it's kind of a complicated law, how they work together. This is the federal and the state, how they intersect. But basically, the Supreme Court is saying that possession of a paraphernalia, that is something that you use to either, like a pipe or to carry the drugs or something like that, is not necessarily a controlled substance violation, depending upon the state laws. Now, in California, unfortunately, the way our laws are written here, paraphernalia charge would still be a controlled substance violation even after this decision. But for other states and other jurisdictions, it may not be. So it's important to know where this happens. Yes.
Right. Okay, we have our first caller on the line. Kausap natin si Romil. Romil, nandyan ka ba?
Hello, Ma'am G. Magandang hapon po.
Magandang hapon din. Ano po ang tanong ninyo?
Itatanong ko lang po kila attorney kasi po, nung nag-apply po ako ng hardship waiver, ay na-deny po siya. At ang reason po nung pagka-deny is meron daw po kasing deportation yung dati kong employer nung ako'y pumunta rito sa Amerika, kasi po galing po ako sa barko. Nag-asawa po ako ng American citizen, and then nag-apply kami ng adjust of status, and then hindi po siya nag-grant dahil po ako ay jump ship. So nung lumabas po yung hardship waiver, nag-apply po kami at na-deny din po siya dahil po meron daw po kasing deportation na request yung aking dating employer dito sa Amerika po. So ang tanong ko lang po, pag na-deny po ba yung hardship waiver, meron pa po bang pag-asa para i-refile ang case or i-apply o wala na po?
Okay, so the situation is he jumped ship, but he did get married to an American citizen. When they filed their documents, they were denied. And then he tried going through the hardship waiver. That too was denied. Apparently, there are deportation documents in place for him. Is there any other way for him?
Yeah, that's very complicated. If he's already has a removal order, then he's in a kind of a tight situation. You can counselor process, that is, go back home and try to do everything back through the embassy in Manila. But that's very complicated. It's uncertain. So it's not. You have to get a waiver for the deportation. You have to get a waiver for your unlawful presence here in the United States, and you have to get a waiver if you had entered the United States using an assumed name, or if the documents you used weren't the ones that you were supposed to be using. So it's very complicated. The other way to try is if there is some reason that you can request either the government or the court to reopen the matter because there's been a change of circumstances, either the hardship has grown or something like that, you can try to get the government to agree to reopen the matter. You may be able to sort of have another chance to go back and file everything and do it again.
Okay, so ang ibig sabihin po ay meron pang chance. All right, so let's hope for the best. Okay, kasama naman natin si Ben on the line. Ben, kamusta? Ben, nandyan ka ba? All right, it seems like we lost Ben. He was our next caller. Okay, but let's talk about this priority date. And there's this word that I can't even pronounce, but is very scary for a lot of us, retrogression.
Yes, and it's both in the employment-based and in the family-based categories. With employment-based, we actually spoke about this last month on the show, and about 2 months ago, the priority date for employment-based cases from the Philippines was in 2014. A month later, it had backed up to 2007, and most recently, it's backed up once again, and it's now at 2005. So what was about a 1-year waiting list backed up to being about a 8-year waiting list.
9
and
years.
Now it's backed up to 2005, that the waiting list is now at about 10 years. And so it does affect people who are here. If you haven't filed your adjustment of status application, you have to wait until your priority date is current again in order to file your adjustment of status application. If it has been filed, you need to wait until they get back to your priority date before they can issue a final decision. And if, unfortunately, you're overseas and you're still waiting for your visa, it's going to be a longer wait before you're eligible to actually obtain your immigrant visa and come back into the U.S. And so that's with the employment-based, and unfortunately, it's also retrogressed in the family-based category.
Yeah, you see the same thing happening in the family-based. It's not as it's a little bit different because normally what you have is parents petitioning for their adult children. This is the two categories that we're talking about. And it has been, at least for a while, that the F1 category, that is the U.S. citizen parents petitioning for their adult children, has been moving a little bit faster than the other category, which is legal permanent residence. But now that F1 category is back to
okay,
2000.
So we'll go to break. When we return, we are here for you. Give us a call, 1-800-553-5724. We're here to answer your questions. Magbabalik po kami.